How's it going? I'm Jared Gillis. Welcome to another All About RVs. Today, I wanted to share with you my conflicting thoughts on this budget solar panel that I picked up. It is really cheap. It was 90 bucks, 100 watts, really easy to deploy, to use, but I wondered when I bought it, is it junk or is it actually usable? Is there any value in this really cheap budget solar panel? So today I wanted to share with you my thoughts, what I found by using it, and kind of the test that I ran it through to see what you can expect out of a unit like this. So first off, what do you get in this kit? So when I bought it, it was 90 bucks. The price fluctuates. I think it's over $100 now. I'll put a link down in the description so you can find the current price. But in this box, you get a small charge controller. Obviously, this isn't going to be an MPPT charge controller. This is just a small PWM charge controller. They're not as efficient as an MPPT, but it comes with a charge controller. And then it comes with all these other adapters and wires for being able to connect it to power stations or different types of scenarios, and some carabiners for being able to hang up this unit also if you wanted to. But honestly, a lot of these connectors and things in there are just kind of a waste, except for this. Look at this. You have a USB to just about anything low volt you need. So you can have the iPhone, USB-C, micro USB. You can charge it all because this actually has a place where you can plug in and charge directly from the solar panel to a USB port. So they give you wires and stuff like this. Now, I don't expect much out of the charge controller. We'll test it with this panel, but we're also going to test this panel on a better charge controller, an MPPT charge controller, to see what the potential of this panel would be. Now, I bought two of these panels to be able to test out, but the first test I want to do is I want to compare just one of these panels to the higher end panel because they'll both be 100 watts. It'll be a good test to put them through. And as I'm testing all these things, I'll put an indication of whether I'm using two of these panels versus something else or what charge controller they're on. I'll try and make it really clear. And as I do these tests, I'll take the readings at the same time so it's the same condition at the same time. So let's get set up so once the sun comes out, we can start these tests. So putting it head to head on an MPPT charge controller, we first put the more expensive panel on there and we were pulling in about 88 to 87 watts. And then using this budget panel, I was able to pull in 73 watts. So if they're both a 100 watt panel, that's like a 14% difference between the $300 panel and the $90 panel. Now, I did a lot of tests comparing a lot of different things across the board, but these are the main ones that really show you what this panel can produce. So this was a good test to give us a baseline of what to expect out of a good quality panel and what we can expect out of this. So that gives us a baseline of what we can expect. I also wanted to compare it to the solar we have on the roof. So 600 watts of solar, we were bringing in 360 watts. The sun wasn't in a good direction or a good angle for us bringing it in on the roof, but these we could tilt towards the sun. And at that same time, we were bringing in 140 to 144 watts because we could tilt that towards the sun. Again, both those examples were through an MPPT charge controller. Now, comparing this panel on the sad little PWM charge controller that it came with compared to the MPPT charge controller, this on the PWM was coming in around 48, 49, and on the MPPT, it was 58, 59. So 10 watts more depending on which charge controller we were on. I also wanted to see how it does in the shade. Now, these are mobile, so you can move them out of the shade, but I just wanted to give that a test. So one afternoon, I laid them out. I had them on the PWM charge controller, so combined, they were only really bringing in 100 watts together, and then I started covering parts of the panel. So if I just covered one panel, it brought it from 100 watts to 80 watts. So if I folded two panels in on top of themselves, it brought it down to 78 watts. If I acted like my arm was a branch going across the panels, that brought it down to 84 watts. Not too shabby on the shading of the panel. It still was producing even though we were blocking parts of the panel. Another nice thing about this unit is you can hang it. So like I said, at the end of the day, you can hang it up. So when the panels on the roof were pretty much bringing in near nothing, I was able to set this out. And even with that PWM charge controller, I was still able to bring in 45 watts about 20 minutes before that sun was going to go down. That's one of the things that I like about a panel that's foldable and easy to deploy on the ground is because I'm able to tilt this, I'm able to set it up away from shade. It just gives me a lot of flexibility. So that's something that I like about a panel like this. I don't tilt the panels on our RV roof. I don't climb up the ladder and do that, but this gives me the ability to tilt the panels on the ground. So that's a plus for having something that you can put on the ground and tilt and get the best optimal sun for the panel. Another positive for these panels is they are extremely light. So they weigh in at 6.1 pounds. Now, if I compare that to our more expensive glass panel that's foldable, that comes in at 19.25 pounds. And again, these panels that I'm comparing it to, they're both 100-watt panels. And this fabric folding panel is way easier to keep inside the RV. It's easy to store it pretty much anywhere because of the size and it's light. I can put this just about anywhere. Compared to the glass one, I actually have to keep that underneath the bed because it doesn't really fit in our storage area. So this one has a lot more flexibility of where you can store it. Now for the things that I don't like about it. One thing, it feels pretty flimsy. I know that it just has a fabric backing, so you do have to be careful with these. It's not gonna be as strong, as robust as that $300 panel. These type that are really light and easy to store, you don't want to put any stress on those panels, so as you're tilting them, you wanna be extra careful on how you're handling them so you're not bending the solar cells inside. I imagine you could hear cracking if you're moving it around and not paying attention to it. The other thing I didn't like is the pathetic small wire. The wire is so small. It's like 18 gauge wire or something coming out of it. I wish it was a thicker wire, but at this price point, you can't really pick and choose what's coming out of it. I don't recommend this, but I opened up the back of one of them, cut into the fabric, and I put new wires, crimped new wires into there. I wanted to see if that would help the performance, and it didn't. So it's not even worth trying to see if you can make these more efficient. Now, another thing with these, when you put them out, they look pretty good, but the more they sit in the sun, they heat up and they kind of start to look like a wavy piece of bacon out there. So you have the legs that are keeping it in place, but the edges are kind of starting to soften up a little bit, and it just doesn't look as good as when you first put it out. You can get a little bit more efficiency by trying to get it all tilted towards the sun perfectly, but it's really just not worth it. You're gaining 3 or 4 watts, and it's just not worth it to try and put that effort into getting just a few more watts out of it. So all that to say, I'm a little conflicted about this panel. I'm going to be using it. I'm going to keep it on hand. I like how lightweight it is. I like that it's easy to store. There's a lot of good things that work well for us, but for me, I have a hard time putting my stamp of approval on this because I think it's fragile. I think there's a good chance that it might break, but it is producing power and it is really easy to use. So depending on the charge controller that you pair with it, it will really depend on how much power you can get out of these for while you're out there RVing. So while I bought these panels, I'm not fully sold on them. I wasn't sure if they were just gonna be an amazing bargain or a piece of junk, and it's kind of somewhere in the middle there, but there is some use that I'm gonna be able to get out of them. So I'll make sure to pin a comment if I have any problems with these to keep this test going, to let you know if they failed or if they're not working or any other problems that I come up with, because I'm really conflicted about this panel. It's working, but I wish there was a higher quality to it, but that's what you get at this price point. I was just checking the price, and this went from $90 to $139. I don't think I would buy it at that price. The point of what I was trying to do is I wanted to test something. What was the cheapest small foldable solar panel that was 100 watts that I can find on Amazon? $90 was the cheapest I can find. Now, that one's not the cheapest anymore. You can still find other solar panels. They might be a little bit different size and shape, but very similar to this one that is $1 a watt. That's closer to what I bought this one at. So I hope this video gives you the pros and the cons and what you would actually be getting if you bought a panel like this, so you can either cross it off your list, it's not the quality that you were looking for, or that is the size and the shape that I was looking for, and so it might help you make an informed decision to know what you're getting. So I think that's gonna do it for today. I hope this video helps you guys out make that informed decision. So as always, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you wanna see more videos about RVing, hit that subscribe button. And if we don't see you on the road, hopefully we will see you next video.